All right, and welcome to Sports on Tap. I'm your host, Rob Troutman. We have Sean Duffy and Ed Dick here. And guys, week 6 in the books for high school football. And the playoffs are right around the corner, and that's what we're going to talk about a little later in the show. But we have some game recaps that we were able to get through with the Greater Cleveland Conference. We also have the GLC, the Southwestern Conference, and the Suburban League. And guys, how you doing this week?
Doing good.
Excellent, man. It's playoffs. Playoffs are here 4 weeks earlier than we're used to them being. And there's a lot more teams coming to this party than there have been in the past. So it's going to be very March Madness-esque here in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this all works out. We got a lot of different matchups that I like, that I'm kind of excited about, especially with you got like the Westlake against the Grizzlies. One you wouldn't normally see. So I mean, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But there's a lot of different matchups that I think in high school football it's great because you wouldn't normally see that. But we'll see how it works out, and excited to see how these playoffs work. But I think at least overall it's worked out pretty nice, and pretty excited to see what happens. At least football is back.
Absolutely, and this was really the only way they could have done what they're doing. There's no way to have a fair, equitable point system as we know it to be if your teams aren't playing more than X amount of games. Some teams play 9 games, and as opposed to the 10. But overall, once you get to 9-10 games played, it creates a very good computer point sample size. Whereas playing right now, some teams have played 2 games, some teams have played 3, some have played 6. Yeah. There's just no fair way to do it in a very shortened season other than what they did. So, the team, and we can get into what happened as far as how the playoffs were seeded a little bit later. But we'll certainly get into all of this once we get through our games, and then we can talk about the region specifically after we get through our games. I think that'd probably be the best way to go about this because there's a lot to uncover here. So we can go region by region to try to cover our specific teams.
Absolutely. Well, Ed, I know you're taking over the GCC here for Josh, who is out on assignment. We want to say happy birthday to Pamela, who it's her birthday today, so happy birthday to Pamela, and hopefully they're enjoying their evening. But Ed, you're filling in for Josh, covering the Greater Cleveland Conference. Take it away.
I am. First, I believe Sean wanted to get it on the floor earlier. Sean, if you will.
Thanks, Ed.
Oh,
Rob.
Sorry, Sean. I didn't hear you.
Steamrolling me, bro. Yeah, I just want to point out that what we're seeing, to touch on Ed's point, is what we're seeing from a postseason standpoint for football for the first time in as long as I can remember, very much resembles how every other playoff for high school sports in Ohio kind of works. Everyone makes the playoff. They work in their rounds. They go through this type of bracket system. So it's not. While I understand it's not how we traditionally view high school football, but it's definitely not something that's foreign to parents and fans who understand how a basketball or even how we cover hockey turns out. This is pretty much par for the course when it comes to logistical. It's just not something that we see a lot in football because we have the computer points and the rankings.
All right, good point, Sean. Sorry, I didn't see. I was on speaker view, so I couldn't see that you wanted to talk there.
Yeah, you gotta let me speak. You gotta let me speak so that my face comes up.
All right.
Well, without further ado,
that's right.
Rob, thank you. I will be, and Sean, I'll be helping our VP of social media out here. So we'll start with week 6 of the Greater Cleveland Conference, as put together by Josh Jeffy. Brunswick hosted Garfield Heights. Brunswick finished their conference season 3-2, so they had a non-conference tilt against the Bulldogs to finish their season. And they, coming into this game, they knew they were hosting a playoff game. So they went into this game probably a little more looser than they needed to be, but they took care of business. The Blue Devils outgained the Bulldogs 267 to 68 as far as yardage in the first half. They went into the locker room with a 35-0 halftime lead. The running game led the way once again for Brunswick. They were led by Brandon Koenig. He rushed 106 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nick Vedini added 48 yards on 7 carries. He also had a score. Ethan Fritz and Jacob Dye also added touchdowns in the first half. And most of the Brunswick starters did not need to play in the second half in this contest. And the 35-0 halftime lead gave way to a 49-14 victory for the Blue Devils over the Bulldogs. Garfield Heights was led by Brian Nichols, who rushed 13 times for 83 yards. And shout out to my kickers. They hit all 7 of their extra points. Coach is proud of you. Well done. And with that, Garfield Heights, they dropped to 0-5 overall. They will travel to East Lake North in a Division II playoff matchup. Brunswick improves to 4-2 overall. They will host Massillon Jackson in Division I, Region 1 of the playoffs next Friday night at Brunswick Automart Stadium. Euclid took on Elyria in what is a primer for their first round match. They were seeded in a way that they knew they were going to play each other in the first round of the playoffs before this game was played. So Elyria didn't mess around. They came out to play. Lance Glover, he broke free for a 56-yard touchdown run. Euclid quickly answered with their first score. A.J. Cody scored from 27 yards out to tie the game at 7. Later in the first half, Euclid took the lead 14-7 as quarterback Andre Rawlings hit Clayshawn Ivory for a 13-yard touchdown. Elyria, they were able to tie the game at 14 when quarterback Dylan Charlo connected with Jasir Lucky from 17 yards out. Euclid then would score twice before the half. Abita Fitz scored on a 15-yard run, and Armand Scott scored on a pick 6. In the second half, Euclid used 2 big plays to put the game out of reach. Jalen Morris hauled in a nice 39-yard touchdown reception, and Cam Smith returned an interception 80 yards for a touchdown. That's 2 pick 6s for Euclid's defense there. And Euclid goes on to win 42-20. Elyria's Lance Glover had a solid game. He finished with 1 touchdown off of 136 yards rushing. Again, Euclid's defense, they came to play. They had 2 pick 6s in this contest. Elyria finishes the regular season with a 1-5 record. They did not win in the conference, unfortunately. Euclid finishes 4-2. These 2 teams, again, they will play next week. This game will be in Euclid at Memorial Stadium in round 1 of the Division I, Region 1 playoffs. So we got a rematch here. All right, Mentor versus Stronsville. Mentor, they look ready for another deep playoff run. They concluded the regular season with a big conference win over Stronsville. Quarterback Ian Kipp was the offensive star of the game. He completed 12 of 17 for 349 yards and 6 touchdowns. He completed 12 passes and had 350 yards. That's nuts. Evan Harper and Hutch Bayard each had 2 touchdown receptions for the Cardinals. That's a hell of a name. John Sierpatowski and Colin DePasquale. Sorry, Colin. They had the other 2 touchdown receptions for the Cardinals. The 6 touchdown passes were the most by a Mentor quarterback since 2012 when Mitch Trubisky also had 6 touchdowns in a game for the Mentor Cardinals. Mentor had the lead at halftime 34-7. They outgained the Mustangs 476 yards to 255. Mentor goes on to win 41-7. Stronsville falls to 2-3 on the season. They will travel to Medina for their first round playoff game in Division I, Region 1. With the win, Mentor, they clinched the GCC title. They had a 5-1 record, a perfect 5-0 in the conference. They will host former GCC foe Shaker Heights in their first round playoff matchup in Division I, Region 1. All right, well, we're going to shift to our website, www.sportsontapodcast.com. You can see all of the recaps from our live coverage on Friday. let alone this specific contest between Medina and Solon. Solon was looking to notch their first victory of the season as the Comets traveled to Medina to face the Bees in their first Greater Cleveland Conference matchup. On the first drive, the Comets used a heavy dose of Khalil Eichelberg to drive down the field. He scores from 6 yards out for a 7-0 lead. Medina ties it right up. Nathan Spatney ran the ball into the end zone from 7 yards out to tie the game there. In the second quarter, Medina gained the lead back at 10-7 when Ryan Miller kicked a 21-yard field goal. That would say that the score would stay the same until just before the half. Eichelberger scored his second touchdown in the game. Solon went for 2. They were not able to get it. And at halftime, it was Comets 13, Bees 10. Medina opened the second half with the ball. They tried going for it on fourth down. They could not convert. Solon took over on the Bees' 37-yard line. Eichelberger scored his third touchdown of the game to put the Comets up 20-10. And after the extra point with just under 10 minutes left in the third quarter. Later in the quarter, Solon's Pat McQuaid, he was back to return a Medina punt. The kick landed and bounced real close to McQuaid. The Bees thought they had it, but after some discussions, the referee said that McQuaid did not touch the ball. Medina was a little bit upset about that. A little inconclusive from the replays. Oddly enough, I happened to catch that exact part of the game when I was flipping through the channels the other day. I couldn't really tell if it hit him or not. So, unfortunately, the Bees did not get the break on that one. In the fourth quarter, quarterback Drew Allar hit Drew Hensley from 15 yards out to cut the Comet lead to 20-17. And then Allar, oh goodness, I jumped ahead a little bit here. Medina, their defense ramped up the intensity. They forced Solon to punt with 8:19 left in the game. And then they were just using short to intermediate passes. Not a whole lot of deep passes by Allar, but they used a stacked formation running game, almost like a Maryland die. Medina was able to drive the ball down the field to the half-yard line. Allar found Dorian Boylan on a nice play-action fake in the end zone for the go-ahead touchdown. With just over 3 minutes left in the game, the Bees led 24-20. Solon was able to get down to the 35-yard line. However, on fourth down, the Bees were able to stop McQuaid short of the first down. The Medina Bees get the victory over the Solon Comets. Big win for the Bees. Dorian Boylan led the Bees with 65 total yards and a score. Allar completed 14 of 25 passes for 128 yards and 2 scores. With the win, Medina finishes the regular season with a 3-3 record. They will host Strongsville in Division I, Region 1 next week. Khalil Eichelberger led the Comets. He had 32 carries and a total of 238 scrimmage yards. He scored 3 touchdowns. Solon drops to 0-3 on the season, and they will travel to St. Ignatius to play in their first-round game. That game will take place at Finney Stadium in Berea. So, tremendous competition here in the Greater Cleveland Conference to wrap up their conference schedule moving into the playoffs. The nominees for the G&G Fitness Coach of the Week, Coach Larry Laird for Medina, gets the nod this week for the Greater Cleveland Conference. The Player of the Week, if you're tying a future NFL quarterback, you get Player of the Week. The RRT Productions Player of the Week goes to Ian Kipp from Mentor. He of the 12 completions for 349 yards and 6 touchdowns. Congratulations to Larry Laird from Medina and Ian Kipp for being the G&G Fitness Equipment and RRT Productions representatives of the week for the GCC. Again, one more time before we shift over to the Southwestern Conference. In Division I, Region 1, Strongsville will take on Medina. Shaker Heights will travel to Mentor. Massillon Jackson will travel to Brunswick. Solon will be at Ignatius. And Euclid will take on Elyria. A lot to go through there. Josh, great job writing these up for me. And we'll break down the conference here when we get a little bit later in the cast. So great competition. Rob, Sean, anything you want to add? If not, we can just go right to the Southwestern Conference. Up to you guys.
Yeah. I think I think one of the things I want to mention before we leave the GCC is just there's a lot of competition in this conference right now, and I think there's really, I think for the first time, we're seeing in a long time that this region, Division One. Yeah, St. Ed's is there, but we still got Menor. You still got it. Solon's basically an unknown right now. Brunswick's playing solid football, and if they could catch any team, Elyria and Euclid, obviously, those two have to play each other, so one of those is going to advance. Euclid's is never an easy out. So I think it's interesting when we look at this division, because I was looking at this afternoon while I was preparing my recap for tonight. There's Stowe in there that again is kind of flying under the radar, in my opinion, that may be able to, make a little bit of noise going into this. Now, obviously, everything looks great on paper, but we look at this and see a region that we're used to seeing a St. Ed's, a St. Ignatius, and a Menor kind of be the cream of the crop, and kind of those three are fighting for it. But I think it's even more kind of an open competition right now in this particular region.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can break that down further here after we get through the conferences here. So, Rob, over to you for the Southwestern Conference here as they wrap up their regular season.
All right, thanks, Ed. Appreciate that. And right now, let's go to the Southwestern Conference. It's the Week 6 version. We'll end the last week here before playoffs, where North Ridgeville, they traveled to Berea Mid-Park for their finale. The Titans, their offense started quick, and they scored often in this one as quarterback Luke Devins, he threw for 331 yards and 3 touchdowns on this night, and it was Titans running back Aquan Bell. He ran for 91 yards and 3 touchdowns. Wide receiver D'Angelo Borders caught 6 passes for 128 yards and a touchdown for the Berea Mid-Park Titans. The Titans at one point jumped out to a 41-6 halftime lead in this one, and they didn't look back in this one, winning 54-14. North Ridgeville, they fall to 0-6 as Berea Mid-Park. They improved to 2-4 on the year. The Titans, they'll open up their playoffs on the road Friday, October 9th, when they face Canton McKinley, the Bulldogs, at Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium, and that's a 7 p.m. start there. So big game for the Titans, and that's going to be a tough one, as North Ridgeville, they also are on the road, and they will face Toledo, St. Francis de Sales. They're 4-2, a very tough team for North Ridgeville, who is going to look to get their first victory in the playoffs, and it can be done. You got to put 4 quarters together, and we'll see how that one turns out. Now, heading to Olmsted Falls, they traveled to Avon Lake. And this is a game we all thought was one you'd circle in the Southwestern Conference as being that physical, tough game. Both teams at the top of the SWC. But Avon Lake, they made a statement in their first drive, scoring with running back Gage Dusler, and he would score on a 27-yard touchdown run. Olmsted Falls, they drive down but settle for a Drew Kanaba field goal, which would be the only score for the Bulldogs on this night. The Shoremen, they would rattle off 31 unanswered points in this game. Back-to-back scores before halftime, too, was a dagger for Olmsted Falls in this one. It was 24-3 at halftime as Avon Lake, they win big in this one, 38-3. Give credit to the Shoremen defense, though. They played great football this season as Avon Lake improves to 5-1 on the season. Olmsted Falls, they do fall to 4-2. It was Avon Lake running back Gage Dusler. He ran for 73 yards and 2 touchdowns on the night. Avon Lake, they await the winner of the Westlake Demons and the Wadsworth Grizzlies, while Olmsted Falls, they'll face the winner of North Royalton and Amherst. Now, Avon, looking for their 5th straight year of the Southwestern Conference title, outright or shared, as they face Midview, and in 2020, the title, this would be their 4th outright, as they shared the title back in 2018. And they didn't mess around, dominating from the start with their passing game as quarterback Nico Pappas. He won the RRT Productions Player of the Week last week, and he continued his success this week, passing for 116 yards and 3 touchdowns. And that's only in 2 quarters of action. So the Avon Eagles, they showed what they can do early to rest the rest of their players here, because the running back, they played freshman Jacorian Caffey, who rushed for 80 yards on the night. The Eagles, they beat the Middies 49-8 in this game to go 6-0. Midview falls to 1-5, and Avon has that first round bye as they are the top seed in the playoffs here, and they will await the winner of North Olmsted versus Midview. North Olmsted, the number 16 seed, and Midview, the number 17 seed. In that one. So North Olmsted, they travel to Amherst. And Amherst, they use their run game, and they use it really well in this one, as they rushed for 233 yards and 3 touchdowns to win their final game on senior night. They used Torrey Weatherspoon and Jonathan West a lot in this one, the 2 running backs for the Comets, as Amherst would score first with Alden Steele on a 58-yard run. And Steele would score again, catching a 36-yard pass from quarterback Tyler Brazina early on in this game. But North Olmsted, they did keep it close early, tying the game at 7 with quarterback Anthony Gershio connecting on a 36-yard pass with wide receiver Langdon Kurtz. This game was close in the second quarter, but it went back and forth with a touchdown by each team. Penalties and mistakes, though, were too much for the North Olmsted Eagles to overcome, as they couldn't keep up with the Comets' offense in this one, who would score 43 points in the win. 43-14 is your final score. Amherst improves to 4-2 and will host North Royalton in round 1 of the playoffs, as North Olmsted, they'll host Midview. Both games will be Friday, October 9th. Now, Westlake, they took on Warrensville Heights, and it was Will Ostrowski electrifying the crowd early on with a 68-yard punt return on the first Tiger punt of the game. 6 plays into this game, they would take the lead 7-0. Then the Demons extended their first quarter lead as Cooper Rummel took a reverse in from the 6-yard line. It was 22-6 Demons at half, and they would go on to win this one 22-14 over Warrensville Heights. The Demons now improved to 3-3 on the year, as they head to Wadsworth to face the Grizzlies. And the Grizzlies, we all know, is a tough game, as they just faced a tough Brecksville Broadview Heights team. Now, the Southwestern Conference G&G Fitness Coach of the Week is Mike Elder of Avon. And, I mean, the job he has done with Avon, winning their 5th straight year of the Southwestern Conference title, outright or shared. And the 2020 title is their 4th outright title, as they did share in 2018. But what a job he's done with the Avon Eagles, always at the top of the Southwestern Conference, and they do it again this year on a shortened season. The Southwestern Conference RRT Productions Player of the Week goes to the Avon Lake defense. They held the Bulldogs offense to 3 points. They also had 2 shutouts this season and gave up 15 points in the last 4 games of this season. So congratulations to the Avon Lake defense. It's tough to pick one player, because I know with them it's a collective group, but what a job they have done there. In the Southwestern Conference schedule for Week 7, the first round of the playoffs, some matchups here. It's Berea Mid-Park at 2-4 taking on Canton McKinley at 4-2, and that's Division 1, Region 1. The rest are Division 2, Region 6, and that's North Ridgeville at 0-5 traveling to Toledo St. Francis de Sales at 4-2. Midview 1-5 travels to North Olmsted at 2-4. North Royalton at 0-6 takes on Amherst at 4-2 overall. Westlake 3-3. They travel to Wadsworth, who are 1-4 on the season, and with byes in the first round, we have Avon, Avon Lake, and Olmsted Falls all having byes in that first round as they await the winners, which we talked about. So, guys, there's the Southwestern Conference, and again, it's kind of crazy the way things have worked out here in this conference. But 6 games finally in the books here, and we get to the playoffs, and Some Southwestern Conference team going to match up here in the first round of the playoffs and could potentially match up here in the second round. So we'll wait and see what happens. North Royalton, they're 0-6, but they're in a very tough conference, and that's the same with Wadsworth. So let's see what they do against Westlake and a team like Amherst, who's 4-2, has had some success in the Southwestern Conference, but how's North Royalton going to face up with an Amherst team? That's going to be an interesting matchup.
Certainly. And congratulations to Avon. Ever since Avon and Midview, for that matter, joining from the now defunct West Shore Conference, since they've joined the Southwestern Conference, they've both made an indelible impact. Avon having made more of an impact, having won the league or shared for the conference title in each of the last 5 years. So again, hats off to Coach Elder and that Eagles team out in Avon. Congratulations. Winning titles in the Southwestern Conference is not as easy as they have made it to be. That is one of the toughest conferences in the state, and it is a consistent grind. And generally, over the course of a 10-game season, some games that you wouldn't expect to see a different winner, that's when these things happen. I think in a shortened season, that may not come through as much as we would see it in a 10-game season. I don't know if we've really seen as many upsets as we're used to seeing in the Southwestern Conference, but kudos. And when we get to Division II, Region 6 later, we can look at some of the other teams there and see who Avon's going to have to go through to hopefully get or any team for that matter to get to the state semis.
Well, and whoever thought that Avon Lake game, that went to double overtime, in week 1, would Avon escaped that one and they escaped Olmsted Falls too. 2 close games, and then they've kind of cruised since then. And Avon Lake, that's a team that has continued to win big games and kind of dominated after that Avon game. It was easy for them just to fold, especially after a tough Avon game. But they have continued to win and, only losses to Avon. So could those two teams maybe match up, moving forward in the playoffs? We'll have to wait and see.
Absolutely. Now, Rob, if I'm not mistaken, you were out at Lakewood for the Rocky River Lakewood game. You want to take us through that, and then we can transition quite nicely into the Great Lakes Conference.
Yeah, and in this one, it was an impressive game, really. Lakewood, I thought, started off pretty strong in this game. They had a solid drive going early on, but they were unable to score. And that's when all of a sudden you look and the momentum started to change as Rocky River running back John Beebe fumbled in their own territory. And Lakewood, though, had the ball. So it was Rocky River. They had the ball. They would fumble it, and Lakewood had it at the Rocky River 28-yard line. But the Rangers, they couldn't capitalize as Rocky River blocked the field goal. And at the end of one quarter, it was 0-0 in this game. So it started off a little bit slow by both teams. But in the second quarter, you could really tell in this one the momentum would go to Rocky River. And the Pirates, they'd get a big run from quarterback Brandon Spees to set up a 1st and goal. And then it was running back John Beebe who would punch it in from 2 yards out. The Pirates, they would go for 2 and get their lead up to 8-0 with 10:53 left in the second quarter. Then a key interception returned for a touchdown. And again, it was John Beebe, and he went both ways. He played offense and defense for Rocky River. It'd be a key play, I thought, in this game because the extra point, it was no good, but Rocky River led 14-0 in this one with 4:58 left in the second quarter. And really the turnovers, they play a big part in this game as the Pirates, they would also get another interception, this one at 2:11 left. And it seemed like Lakewood was starting to force things a little bit here in the second quarter. As Rocky River, they'd get it down to the Lakewood 11-yard line where they would get a 28-yard field goal from kicker Mac Masad. At halftime, it was 17-0 Rocky River, and they really didn't look back as they started off in the third quarter after halftime on a 14-play, 75-yard drive that would be capped off by a 1-yard touchdown run by, again, John Beebe, who pretty much did everything in this. Offensively, defensively, you could tell the offense really went through him here. The extra point was good, and after 3 quarters, it was 24-0. again, after that, Rocky River got the ball back. And again, a heavy dose of running back John Beebe and a great connection with quarterback Brandon Spees and wide receiver David Rosenberg. Spees and Rosenberg on this night, they really connected, and you could tell they were on the same page. Rosenberg is senior, and after 3 quarters, it was 24-0 Rocky River. In the 4th quarter, there's a lot of running the football as Rocky River just tried to really milk the clock a lot, and they had the ball for a lot of the 3rd quarter into the 4th quarter. As Brandon Spees, he would connect again with Stan Hewler on a 12-yard touchdown pass. The extra point was good, and Rocky River wins big in this one, 31-0 in a Great Lakes Conference win over the Rangers of Lakewood. And overall, Rocky River, they improved to 3-1 on the season, and it's Lakewood, they fall to 1-4. And next up for the Pirates, they're playing some playoff football at home as they host Lexington. And Lakewood, they go on the road and travel to Barberton to take on the Magic. So that's going to be a tough game for them. The Magics are a good team, and we'll see what they can do against a Suburban League team. And now for the player of the game, for me, was Rocky River running back John Beebe in this one. He had 2 touchdowns on the ground and scored another as a pick 6. And I thought he was just an overall impressive game. And really for Rocky River, they're a young team, and you saw some improvement from Lakewood. Even though it was, a 31-0 lopsided score, I thought overall this Lakewood team still played well. They drove the football. They just have to learn how to finish a little bit, and the turnovers killed them. 2 interceptions back-to-back by Lakewood really turned the momentum of the game, especially the pick 6. But Lakewood, they showed some good things. They just have to be able to finish. And the defense, they did have some stops in the red zone, but, Rocky River, they don't let up, and they bulldoze you into the ground. But they can pass, and then they can then balance it out with that run, and they did that tonight, or on that night, rather. So a very impressive win, I thought, for Rocky River. And the Great Lakes Conference is a fun conference. You're adding some teams. I'm interested to see the North Olmsted and Westlake. I think that's going to be a great addition to this league. Rocky River, what an impressive game for them, especially to head in the playoffs. I think that's what they needed. Lexington's going to be a tough game for them, but they play it at home, so that might help them out there.
They got a little bit of a trek there, so we'll see. If the Minutemen can see what they can do against the Pirates, who are going to be well rested and coming off a nice victory over Lakewood in the game, one of the featured games of the week for Sports on Tap. With that, we'll go into the rest of the Great Lakes Conference. Thanks for helping us out, and thanks for going to that game on Friday, Rob.
No problem.
The regular season has concluded, and each team who opted into the playoffs will either have a first-round matchup or they're going to enjoy a bye, depending on how many teams the region has. Thursday night, the Elyria Catholic Panthers, who are 3-1 and undefeated in the conference, traveled to Parma Heights to Byers Field to take on Valley Forge, who was 2-1 overall and 2-1 in conference play. Valley Forge got scores from Anthony Janowski and Kentrell Marks in the first quarter, scoring on runs of 2 and 27 yards respectively. Panthers quarterback Steven Navalinsky, he hit his favorite target, Jarrett Franz, on a 12-yard touchdown pass for their first score. Marks answered from 4 yards out for the Patriots, and then but that was followed by a 5-yard touchdown run from Levi Ellis from Elyria Catholic, and it was a 21-13 score in favor of Valley Forge. The second half, this was all Valley Forge, as Kentrell Marks and Eddie Starks ran wild over the Panthers defense. They scored 4 of the 5 touchdowns for the Patriots. The Valley Forge defense limited Ellis and Nevelinsky en route to a 55-21 victory. Valley Forge, you thought the Browns did good on the ground on Saturday. Valley Forge rushed for 515 yards on 39 carries.
Wow.
They completed just 1 pass for 8 yards. Kentrell Marks had 13 carries for over 240 yards and 4 more touchdowns. That included runs of 88 and 54 yards. His backfield mate, Eddie Starks, rushed another 14 times for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. For the Panthers, Steven Avalinsky completed 9 of 22 passing for 150 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. Levi Ellis rushed 30 times for 114 yards and a touchdown. Valley Forge is 3-1 overall, 3-1 in the conference. They are the number 12 seed in Division II, Region 6. They will host number 21, Oregon Clay, this week in the first round. Elyria Catholic drops to 3-2 overall, 3-1 in the conference. They are the number 4 seed in Division 5, Region 18. The Panthers have a scheduled bye week. They will await the winner of number 13, Oak Harbor, and number 20, Doylestown, Chippewa. Moving on, the Buckeye Bucks, 2-1 overall. They traveled to Fairview Park that faced the 1-2 Warriors. Buckeye running back Cameron Marshall came to play. He found the end zone in the first quarter with a 38-yard touchdown run. In the second quarter, Ben Barnes, my dude Ben Barnes, continued his scoring barrage. He had a 5-yard touchdown run. Then Marshall and Barnes alternated scores in the third quarter. Marshall caught a 53-yard touchdown pass from Jaden May, and Barnes rushed in from 7 yards out for a 28-0 Bucks lead. Warriors quarterback Sean McNamara found Declan Jewett from 10 yards out to cut the lead to 27-8. This was not enough, though. The Buckeye Bucks win 35-7. Cameron Marshall had 3 total touchdowns for the Bucks, and Ben Barnes had 2 more, and he also hit all 5 extra point attempts behind a strong offensive line led by sophomore monster Todd Allen. Buckeye moves to 3-1 overall. They have a scheduled bye week next week as the number 8 seed in Division 3, Region 10. However, their opponents are already known. They will host number 9, Richfield Revere, in the second round. That is going to be a good game, Sean. We can talk about that a little bit later. Fairview drops to 1-3 overall. They are the number 19 seed in Division 5, Region 18. They will travel to face number 14, Orville, just 2 seasons removed from their state championship. The Bay Rockets traveled to North Royalton to face the Parma Heights Holy Name Green Wave. Bay was 1-2 going into this contest. Holy Name was 3-1 overall, undefeated in the conference. Holy Name quarterback Javon Williams, he hit pay dirt from 36 yards out on a touchdown run to put a Holy Name up. Bay's offense, they were able to drive inside the Holy Name 5-yard line, but that Green Wave defense forced a fumble, and they recovered it to stop the Rocket offense. Later in the game, Holy Name got a pick 6 from 38 yards out by Aiden McNamara. Running back Christian Sanchez rushed for a 6-yard touchdown. Holy Name completes an undefeated Great Lakes Conference season. They shut out Bay 35-0. Holy Name's defense, this would have been a great one for fantasy. They forced 4 turnovers. They had 3 interceptions and a fumble, including the pick 6. With the win, Holy Name moves to 4-1 overall, 4-0 in the conference. They are the number 6 seed in Division 3, Region 10. They have a scheduled bye week and will host the winner of number 11 seed Caledonia River Valley and number 22 seed Maumee. Bay drops to 1-3 overall. They are the number 14 seed in Division 3, Region 10. They will host number 19 Defiance next week in the first round of the playoffs. Last and certainly not least, the Parma Redmen and the Normandy Invaders, both 0-3. They did battle at Byers Field. Unfortunately, not a whole lot in this game. Parma does get the shutout win over Normandy, 26-0. They get their first win of the season. Parma improves to 1-3 overall. Parma opted out of the playoffs and as of now do not have a scheduled appointment for Week 7. Normandy falls to 0-4. They are the number 24 seed in Division 2, Region 6. They will travel to number 9, Fremont Ross, next week. My G&G Fitness Coach of the Week for the Great Lakes Conference is Marcello DeAngelis from Valley Forge. Huge victory over Elyria Catholic. Elyria Catholic has proven to be a tough out, and Valley Forge really put it on them. So congratulations to Coach DeAngelis. And then our RRT Productions Player of the Week. This is a repeat winner, but he deserves it. Kentrell Marks, running back from Valley Forge, 13 carries for over 240 yards and 4 touchdowns. So Valley Forge sweeps the nominees this week. Congratulations to both there. We'll do a quick rundown of the games one more time here. Parma Heights Holy Name is this number 6 seed in Division 3, Region 10. They have a bye week. They will host number 11, the winner of a number 11 Caledonia River Valley and number 22 Maumee. Elyria Catholic in Division 5, Region 18. They're the number 4 seed. They have a bye week. They will host the winner of number 13 Oak Harbor and number 20 Doylestown Chippewa. Parma Heights Valley Forge in Division 2, Region 6. They are the number 12 seed, and they will play this week. They are hosting the number 21 seed Oregon Clay. Medina Buckeye has a bye week, but they know their opponent in the second round. They will host number 9 seed Richfield Revere. Rocky River is the number 13 seed, Division 3, Region 10. They will host number 20 Lexington. Fairview is number 19 seed in Division 5, Region 18. They will travel to Orville to take on the 14th seeded Red Riders. Bay is the number 14 seed in Division 3, Region 10. They will host number 19 Defiance. Lakewood is in Division 2, Region 6. They are the number 20 seed. They will travel to Barberton. Parma opted out of the playoffs. And finally, Parma Normandy, the number 24 seed in Division 2, Region 6. They will travel to Fremont Ross, the number 9 seed. Lots to go through there, but in the interest of time, let's get over to my cohort, my compadre, my colleague, my dude, Sean Duffy, to go through the Suburban League, American and National divisions.
Thank you, Ed. And we'll start off, as we always do, in the senior division, the national division. We start out with Stowe traveling to take on Nordonia. And this was a shootout of a game, but it was Stowe's quarterback Owen Bainbridge who led the Bulldogs to a Week 6 victory, 53-47. Owen Bainbridge finished the night really well. 23 of 36 for 278 yards passing, 2 touchdowns in through the air. Oh, by the way, he also had 135 yards rushing with 4 touchdowns. He scored 6 touchdowns on the night. Not to be outdone, Nordonia's quarterback Billy Levac did finish the night 21 of 49 with 425 yards through the air and 3 touchdowns. But as we've said before, and I'll say it again, no matter how many numbers you put up, the only number that matters in getting the press is in the win column. And unfortunately, Nordonia falls 47-53 to Stowe. Nordonia finishes the year 3-2. They will host Lakeside in their playoff game again in Division 2, Region 5, Round 1. Stowe is 3-1. They will host Cleveland Heights in Division 1, Region 1 in the first round there. Our next game featured the Hudson Explorers, or we might as well call them the Hudson Exploders, because they dropped a 53-0 burger on North Royalton, who was visiting for the final game of the season. It was all Explorers all night. Jacob Peltani went 9 of 10 passing for 220 yards and 3 touchdowns. Running backs Drew Leitner and Aiden Lau combined for 3 rushing touchdowns. North Royalton could not get anything going against the Hudson defense, and it was a complete dismantling by Hudson to end their regular season campaign. North Royalton is 0-6. They will travel to take on Amherst in Round 1 of Division 2, Region 6, so it does not get any easier for the North Royalton Bears. Hudson, 6-0, did earn a first-round bye in Division 2, Region 5, and they will face the winner of the Bedford-Akron-Ellett matchup, which is in Round 1 this Friday. Our spotlight game of the week featured the Brecksville Broadview Heights Bees hosting the Wadsworth Grizzlies. And guys, to start off with this game, we had a 40-yard touchdown pass from Iowa commit and Bees quarterback Joe Labus to Jeremy Genazzo for for the Bees to take an early 7-0 lead with about 7:50 left in the first quarter. The very next play, and I'm not kidding you, the very next play, Anthony Serino for the Wadsworth Grizzlies took a kickoff over 80 yards up the sideline to tie the score at 7-7 with 7:35 remaining. So within a matter of about 15 to 25 seconds, we had 2 touchdowns scored, and that was it for the first quarter. They got all their scoring out in the first quarter, and that was it as the first period came to an end with both teams notching a touchdown. The second quarter was all about defenses, and one of the things I want to point out here is that each team had multiple stops on 4th down, forcing turnovers on downs. The problem was that there was the battle of the dueling defenses. In fact, The only score in this game came very late as time was running out in the first half when B's running back Garrett Kubitz would score from 17 yards out. And what we saw as the half came to an end, Ed, you're going to appreciate this, was a botched snap to the holder. The kicker tried to recover it and ended up, I think, kicking it about 50 yards in the wrong direction. I don't know what happened. All I remember is I look up when they're at the other end of the field. I thought they were taking the ball back. I thought Wadsworth Recovery was trying to recover it, but I looked down and it was the kicker. So I'm not sure what happened there, but the ball did not get securely taken care of by the holder, and the end result of that was the Bees held a 13-7 lead at half. Now, once we get into the third quarter, there's only one word to describe how this third quarter ended: explosive, quick scoring, and long. I timed it. It was about the third quarter alone took about an hour and 15 minutes to complete.
Oh.
So there was a lot of scoring. So bear with me. I'm going to try and get through this as quickly as I can. The Bees scored first on a 33-yard touchdown pass from Joe Labus to Luke Ganem. A failed 2-point conversion increased the Bees' lead 19-7 with 7:38 remaining in the third quarter. Oh, by the way, they waited about 5 to 10 minutes to score game clock. Wadsworth's offense, who've been stuttering most of the first half, and again, this was the first time their only score came on that special teams play. They finally got some rhythm, and they found the end zone on a 67-yard touchdown pass from quarterback Mitchell Evans to wide receiver Barrett Labus. They ended up making the extra point and cut the lead 19-14 with about 7:13 remaining. So we're seeing quick scores here. We're seeing quick scores in rapid succession. The Bees would respond with an explosive play of their own, 68 yards, touchdown pass from Labus to wide receiver Luke Buckley. They ended up kicking the extra point to make it 26-14 with 5:13 remaining. At this point, this is where Mitchell Evans took over the third quarter. He ended up having 2 more touchdown passes, one a 20-yard touchdown pass to Anthony Serino, his second of the night, the kickoff return and this touchdown pass, and then a 27-yard touchdown pass to Barrett Labus, his second of the night, to end the third quarter. The Grizzlies, at this point, at the end of the third quarter, who were down 13-7, are now up 29-26. We're going to move into the fourth quarter, the final quarter, if you will, and this is where the Bees figured out, hey, we got this guy, Garrett Kubitz, who can run the ball and can't be stopped, because he ended up adding 2 more rushing touchdowns in the fourth quarter, one from 3 yards out, which made the score 32-29 with and this was about 10 seconds into the first, or about 2.5 minutes into the fourth quarter. And then he would find the end zone again from 15 yards out to give the Bees a 38-29 lead with about 5 minutes remaining in the game. Wadsworth was still working, and Mitchell Evans would connect with Karsten Mitchell for a 41-yard touchdown, but a failed 2-point conversion and an unsuccessful onside kick gave the Bees the ball at midfield. A few plays later, quarterback Joe Labus decided he wanted to run the ball into the end zone, and did from 31 yards out. And that would prove to be the final nail in the coffin as the Brecksville Broadview Heights Bees beat the Wadsworth Grizzlies 45-35. I am out of breath because that was a lot of scoring in the second half. At this point, the Wadsworth unfortunately falls to 1-4 in the year, but they're probably one of the more dangerous 1-4 teams I've ever seen. They were led by, obviously, quarterback Mitchell Evans, who had 4 passing touchdowns, 2 to Barrett Labus, 1 to Anthony Serino and Karsten Marshall. And the Grizzlies begin their playoff journey next week as they host Westlake in the first round of the Division 2, Region 5 playoffs. Brecksville Broadview Heights improves to 5-1, and they were led offensively by quarterback Joe Labus and running back Garrett Kubitz, both combining for 7 touchdowns in the game. And the Bees actually earned themselves a first-round bye, and they will await the winner of the first-round contest between Valley Forge and Oregon Clay that Ed had mentioned. That is the National Division Spotlight game. It was a very good game. I want to thank Brecksville for having us out there and having a really raucous band. The band was rocking all night, and they were not shy about making noise. Moving on to the American Division, we saw Cuyahoga Falls traveling into Copley, and it was all Copley all night. Copley completes its undefeated season with a 41-20 victory over Cuyahoga Falls. Copley quarterback Joe Rijo had 2 touchdown passes on the night. Cuyahoga Falls is 0-5. They travel to face Boardman in the first round of the Division II Region 5 playoffs. And Copley will face Aurora in Week 7. Both Aurora and Copley have byes in their respective playoff games. So what we have, ladies and gentlemen, is a de facto American championship game between the 3-1 and undefeated American Division Aurora and the undefeated Copley Indians. Are going to lock horns next week, and whoever wins that, I believe, takes the crown of the Suburban American Division. Moving on, Talmadge. They traveled in to take on Kent Roosevelt, and they earned their second victory on the year with a 26-16 victory on the road against Kent Roosevelt. Kent Roosevelt is now 0-2. They face University School in round 1 in Division 2, Region 5, and Talmadge is now 2-3 on the year. They travel to Dover in round 1 of Division 3, Region 9. Our final American matchup is Barberton traveling into Highland, and Highland improves to 3-2 and earns a first-round bye with a 31-16 home win versus Barberton. Barberton, as Rob mentioned, is 1-5. They will host Lakewood Friday night in round 1 of Division 2 Region 6. Highland, 3-2, will face the winner of Normandy and Fremont Ross in the second round of their respective division. My 2 non-conference or non-divisional games saw the Twinsburg Tigers get blanked by the Aurora Greenmen, as Aurora is clearly ready for the playoffs as they crush Twinsburg 35-0. Aurora quarterback Alex Moore, 14-16, 176 yards and 1 touchdown. He also rushed for 18 yards and also had 2 touchdowns. Jack Cardman on the defensive side of the ball for the Greenmen had 2 interceptions that set up scoring plays for the Greenmen. Twinsburg, 0-4. They travel to Brush in round 1 of the Division II Region 5. Aurora is 5-1. They earn a first-round bye and will face the winner of NDCL in Louisville, however you pronounce it, in Division 3 Region 9. As I mentioned, they will also face Copley next week for the de facto American Division Championship. Revere traveled out to Maple Heights, and they probably should have stayed home because they got blanked 20-0. Despite the loss, Revere will move to the second round of the Division 3 Region 10 playoffs with a 20-0 loss to Maple Heights. They will face Medina Buckeye in the second round of Division 3 Region 10. My G&G coach of the week is Tom Phillips of Stowe. I mean, that's an impressive performance by a team, and you're rounding into shape, especially with what we discussed a little bit earlier, and we'll discuss again, is a very, very, very game and very, very competitive Division 1, Region 1. My RRT Productions Player of the Week, I got to go with Owen Bainbridge from Stowe. 413 total yards, 6 touchdowns, 4 rushing, 2 passing, 23 of 36. The guy had a great game. So Tom Phillips of Stowe and Owen Bainbridge of Stowe. It's a Stowe sweep, guys. So that's all that's fit to print from the Suburban League this week, and looking forward to some matchups. We'll go over here. As I mentioned, Stowe in Division 1 Region 1, Stowe will host Cleveland Heights in their first-round matchup. In Division 2 Region 5, Kent Roosevelt will travel to take on Hunting Valley will host University School. It's hard to read in these small ones. Nordonia will host Ashtabula Lakeside, and Twinsburg will travel to Brush. Cuyahoga Falls travels to Boardman. This is Division 2 Region 5. In Division 2 Region 6, Barberton, as Rob so eloquently put, will host Lakewood in Division 2 Region 6. And Wadsworth will host Westlake, and North Royalton will travel in to take on Amherst Steel in Division 2 Region 6. In Division 3 Region 9, the Aurora Greenmen have a bye into the second round, but Talmadge will travel to take on Dover in the first round of Division 3 Region 9. And in Division 3 Region 10, as Ed mentioned, there's a big matchup between Richfield Revere and Medina Buckeye.
Oh, man.
And Copley earns a second-round bye, and I believe they're playing Norwalk in their second-round matchup.
The Truckers.
If I read my clippings correctly. Guys, I have 5 brackets in front of me. The Suburban League is spread out is like a friggin' shotgun because it's in 4 different regions and 3 separate divisions. I don't know where I'm going. So I'm going to kick it back to Rob to let him kind of figure out what's going on. I'm drowning in paper. I have no idea what's going on.
Nice job, Sean. I mean, it's busy
Well
there
done.
in the Suburban League. A lot going on. Where the Southwestern Conference is nice. I have Berea Mid-Park in Division I, Region 1, and the rest are Division 2, Region 6. So it makes it really nice and easy.
I mean, I know Ed's got a couple Division 4 games, but I mean, I'm shotgun blasting every year.
Yeah,
we're certainly all over the place here with all of our with our conferences in the respective playoff regions, and quite honestly, as we're used to talking, it's not as we're used to doing this. We don't have about 30 teams in our coverage area that we're covering, but we do now. So we'll start. Let's get to some brackets here real quick. Division 1, Region 1. The number 1 seed out there, as Sean mentioned earlier, is Lakewood St. Ed's. They will take on the number 16 seed Canton Glen Oak. We do have a couple of GCC matchups, rematches from the regular season. Medina is the number 8 seed. They will host number 9 Strongsville, and then number 4 Euclid hosts number 13 Elyria. And then Solon is the number 12 seed. Will take on St. Ignatius. Both of those teams have not played a full complement of games up to this point, so I'm interested in seeing how both of those games how that game is going to turn out. And then Mentor is the number 2 seed. They will take on former GCC foe Shaker Heights as the 15 seed. Sean, your Stowe Monroe Falls Bulldogs are the number 7 seed, hosting Cleveland Heights. Berea Mid-Park, our friend of show John Hunick will be coaching Berea Mid-Park into Fawcett Stadium to take on Canton McKinley, the number 3 versus the 14 seed. And then our beloved Brunswick Blue Devils as the number 6 seed will host Massillon Jackson. Any thoughts about, Sean, I think you offered some thoughts earlier. What are we, Rob, what do you think when you look at this bracket?
Well, I mean, right away, Canton Glen Oak taking on St. Ed's. I think that, as the number 1 seed there, St. Ed's taking on a Glen Oak team. Glen Oak usually a very competitive team, but I like that Medina Strongsville matchup in 8 versus 9. I think that's going to be a really good battle there. Elyria just faced a good Euclid team, and Euclid did pull away in that one. Ignatius and Solon, Solon's coming off a tough game against Medina. But this overall, Shaker Heights going against Mentor, I'm sure they have some familiarity there. But going down, Brunswick and Massillon Jackson, I remember facing them when I went to Brunswick, and Massillon Jackson was a tough team, and it seems like they've kind of gotten back to it a little bit. There's a lot of great matchups in Region 1, Division 1, and we'll see how it plays out, but are really a great bracket with some pretty tough teams. And then, Berea Mid-Park going against Canton McKinley, that's going to be a very tough matchup for Berea Mid-Park. You have some of those matchups. Stowe coming off an impressive season so far against Cleveland Heights. So some really good matchups in this bracket. Sean, what do you think?
I'm still interested to see, how these teams. Ed brought up a great point. You look at Solon, you look at Cleveland St. Ignatius, and I don't think we've ever seen 2 teams that are just complete unknowns, in my opinion. Solon rounded into form last week a little bit. They got, they kind of got their sea legs about them. Still didn't, get the win, but you got to wonder what that matchup's going to look like. And could it come down to whichever team makes the least amount of mistakes, and being the fact that, up until 3 weeks ago, Solon wasn't even going to play football. And that was kind of something they came up with. They came with, and now they're in the playoffs. So I'm interested to see that game. I'm interested to see, can Berea Mid-Park hang with McKinley here? I don't know. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, what does John Hunick have up his sleeves? Does he have some trick plays? Does he have a little bit of insight there? Coming from St. Ed's, it's been a little bit of time now, but he always can draw up those magical plays. Let's see that offense, can draw something up there.
Well, I'm interested to see because we both follow. Obviously, we follow Bremen Park, and we see John Hunick's known for stretching the field, right? He's known for the quick passing attack. What I saw, at least in week 1, was a commitment to running the ball, and with Aquan Bell, who had, in my opinion, and I tweeted this while I was watching that game, is I've never seen a kid run harder to gain 3 yards. And eventually with a running back like that, those things kind of pop, right? Those have a tendency to kind of pop because you're constantly pressing. Again, I really do think this is going to come down to your Menor and your St. Ed's in this region, just because I think those are the 2 best teams right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if there was a spoiler in there. Ed, what do you think?
I think you're right. I read a stat earlier that St. Ed's, Mentor, and St. Ignatius are the only 3 teams that have won this region since 2009, and that was when Glenville was in Division I, and they had a very, very, very good team back then to get out of that region. I think McKinley, if they can get past Berea Mid Park, and then, maybe they run into Brunswick, and maybe we finally get over the hump against them. They ended my career. They've ended a lot of seniors' careers at Brunswick over the years. So I would love to see us beat them. No offense to McKinley, but I'm sick of losing you guys. But McKinley is very, very good. I think that would be a tremendous game if they were to get to play Menor in the regional semis. And then, if Ed's and Ignatius, it's a holy war. That always is a good game. Medina and Stronswell, I think it's going to be a much different game this time around. Medina definitely got one over on Stronswell earlier in the year. I think those 2 teams are evenly matched in that. I don't foresee a blowout happening again. I don't see the same thing for Euclid and Elyria, though. I think Euclid's way more talented than Elyria. And I think Euclid will. I think they'll be able to win that game again and potentially win that game going away. So, obviously, Coach Benzoni is going to have the Blue Devils ready to go. We haven't hosted a playoff game since 2008. It's been 12 years since Brunswick's hosted the playoff game, and I'm very, very excited for the Blue Devils. And I obviously wish them the best of luck, Coach Benzoni and the rest of the coaching staff and the players. As they head into Brunswick to play Massillon Jackson. So tremendous region, and this one's going to be a little easier to follow because they don't have any bye weeks. It's 16 teams, and it's going to go straight through. So we can turn the page on Division I, Region 1. We'll shift over. I believe Sean, you got some teams in Division 2, Region 5. Why don't you give us a little breakdown of that region?
Yeah, when we're looking at it from a show standpoint, there's 4 matchups in Division 2, Region 5. The first one being Kent Roosevelt, who is the 16th seed versus the 17th seed of Hunting Valley University School. Nordonia, the number 9 seed, taking on the 24th seed, Ashtabula Lakeside. And then Twinsburg, the 18th seed, traveling to take on the 15th seed Brush. And then Cuyahoga Falls, the 22nd seed, traveling to take on the 11th seed Boardman. This is an interesting one because obviously number 1 seed in this region is Akron-Hoban. I think all roads go through Akron-Hoban. So, whoever wins the Kent Roosevelt University School gets served up to Akron-Hoban. I'm interested to see where Nordonia goes in this division. I think that's my dark horse. Obviously, I followed them all year. You got a good team that can score points. A little bit of a question on the defensive side of the ball. They tend to get into a lot of shootouts. I think that could benefit them if they need to. They got a quarterback like Billy Levac. You got a good coach. They're well coached. They can score at will. I think that's going to be something to watch. And then there's a couple of other ones. Obviously, you want to talk about, Cuyahoga Falls. Really, those, Cuyahoga Falls and Kent Roosevelt don't have any wins on the season. You'd like to see them get through that first round, get that win, continue on. But it's a tall order, and I wish them all the best for that. But my dark horse in this, at least getting to the third round, where they would have to face Hoban would be Nordonia. I think they have the offense to get to that area, and then I think, in my opinion, we'll see if the rubber can meet the road there for Nordonia. But definitely going to follow this region because it's the suburban. There's some representation, at least this week, in the suburban league.
I think I think Hudson's going to be a tough out in this region as well.
Yeah.
If they end up running into Austintown Fitch in that semifinal matchup, Austintown dropping down from Division I, Region 1. I haven't seen them in a Division 2 as a Division 2 team if I ever. So them being dropped into this region, I think put a big wrench into some teams' thoughts here. I think ultimately you're right, though. All roads lead through Hoban, and until someone can take them down in regional play, I can't see anyone doing that. I would love to see a Fitch or a Hudson take them on in the regional semis for sure.
I didn't want to not give any love to Hudson. I thought I was just concentrating on this week's matchups. But yeah, I mean, Hudson's there too, and to get to that area, Hudson can control the bottom of this bracket, I think, because of their offense and the way they play defense. One of the things we talked about for the last couple of years we've been covering Hudson is they can score, but they can also play really good defense. And you're starting to see that, obviously they haven't allowed a lot of points. Yeah, they got into a shootout with Nordonia, but everybody did. They lost that game. But I look at Hudson's offense, and I think we talked about it in the beginning of the year. We talked about it with John Hunick, and he made a very good comparison that we're looking at teams as they're coming into form. And I think Hudson and Nordonia are two teams that are coming into form. They've kind of have their identities in this region and can make some noise. Hudson maybe more so than Nordonia, just by giving it the draw, because like I said, all roads are going to go through Hoban, and that's just the way. I mean, that's the way. Unless there's a major upset that I'm not seeing, and if there is, then all bets are off. But if I'm a betting man, and we look at this a couple weeks down the road, I'm thinking we're looking for this to the state semifinal for this region. You're looking at probably a Hudson versus a Akron Hoban, and I think that's going to be a really good matchup. At least that's what I'm hoping.
Yeah,
absolutely. Rob, Division II, Region 6. This has your conference written all over it.
Yeah, and it starts off with North Olmsted taking on Midview. The winner of that game takes on the number 1 seed Avon. The Eagles there in the next matchup. It's Fremont Ross. They're the 9 seed. They take on Parma Normandy. They're seed 24, and the winner of that game takes on Medina Highland. Then moving down, you have the Barberton Magics, the 13 seed, taking on the Lakewood Rangers. They're the 20 seed there. The winner of that game takes on Toledo St. John's, which is the 4 seed. Then this is going to be a good matchup. Parma Heights, it's Valley Forge against Oregon Clay, the 21 seed. The winner of that will take on Brecksville Broadview Heights. And I'll tell you what, if Valley Forge makes that game, that should be a good one. Valley Forge, again, they're a scrappy, tough team. I got to see them up close. They like to run the football a lot, and they have some different weapons there. They could be a little bit dangerous. Now, Sylvania Northview, they're the 15 seed. Take on Holland Springfield, the 18 seed. The winner of that takes on Toledo Central Catholic. They're the number 2 seed in this Division 2 Region 6. Then we keep going down here as Toledo St. Francis DeSales. They'll take on North Ridgeville. North Ridgeville, the 23 seed. DeSales, the 10 seed. The winner of that game takes on White House Anthony Wayne, the 7th seed. Can you imagine the North Ridgeville Rangers taking on White House Anthony Wayne? That would be an absolute juggernaut there if they can get past Toledo St. Francis DeSales. Going down in this division, Wadsworth, the 14 seed, taking on Westlake. That's going to be a good one. Westlake, the 19 seed. The winner of that game takes on the Avon Lake Shoremen. They are the 3 seed. Then Amherst, the 11th seed, taking on North Royalton, the 22 seed. The winner of that game takes on the Bulldogs of Olmsted Falls. And that wraps up Region 6 in Division 2. And some pretty good matchups there in the first round. Going through, I'm showing the brackets as we talk about them right here on your screen. And everyone can see the brackets there. So a lot of good games. And, we've seen a lot of good football 6 weeks in. Some teams struggle, but that's a nice part. Everybody makes the playoffs. So let's see what happens here.
We had Coach Beal and Midview has not played North Olmsted yet this year, so
yeah.
That'll be one of the few matchups in the Southwestern Conference that will not be a rematch. So I'm interested in seeing how Coach Beal and that team and Midview will take on North Olmsted in their last year in the SWC before they join the Great Lakes Conference. And then some other, I think, I cover Normandy. Unfortunately, I don't think it's gonna turn out too well for them going out to Fremont. I hope you guys can prove me wrong.
Yeah.
The Lakewood takes on Barberton. I think you're right when you're talking about Lakewood against Rocky River. I think some ingredients are there for Lakewood, and I think as they get more accustomed to playing in the Great Lakes Conference, I think they'll be able to pile up some victories. I think the season being as short as it was probably didn't do them any favors, but that's going to be a tough one going to Barberton to take on the Magics, as Sean can attest to.
Yeah, it seems like they've continued. Barberton has gotten stronger as the season has gone on, I feel like. Wouldn't you agree there, Sean?
I would. Barberton, and I said this about Wadsworth, but you can also say this about Barberton. These are two dangerous 1-4 teams. They had both had very, very tough schedules. And I think in the 6 weeks, the small sample size that we can say that the national division, and I'm including Barberton in this because they basically played the national division in the Suburban League. I don't think they played any American except for Highland this past week. But even Highlands, I mean, a top tier American division team. That's a tough schedule anyway. Slice it. Wadsworth has been in every game, with the exception, I believe, of the Nordonia game. But even that was close up until Nordonia ran away with it. I'm interested to see this game. I'm very interested to see Medina Highland and who they end up with. I agree with you, Ed. Normandy at Fremont Ross. Probably not going to be the best matchup for a Normandy team, but you never know. They could control the clock. North Royalton against Amherst Steel. I think we can make an educated guess how that's going to end up. But Wadsworth at Westlake. Westlake's no pushover. They're much improved from last year. And Coach LaRocca told us that. They're a young team and they're getting playoff experience. And I know every team is, but to young teams and understanding what it's like, and you can build on that. And you can say, that you were there, you were in a playoff atmosphere. That's what it is, and that's what we need to get back to. So you never know how a team like that's going to respond. They don't know any better. Wadsworth, is a good team with a very, very good quarterback and a good set of receivers. I expect Wadsworth to take care of business, but you never know. I'm really intrigued to see a possible matchup here if things work out where you can have a Wadsworth team versus a Avon Lake team. I think those two teams match up really, really well. Avon Lake probably has the edge because they are a more complete team. They play very good defense, very good offense. You're not going to get a lot over on them. But that's a really interesting matchup. Not to mention when you look at this and you can see a potential matchup here of obviously another Southwestern Conference matchup. Either Midview or North Olmsted. I think North Olmsted does have the edge there in that first week. But this is going to be an entertaining division, and it's very sports on tap infiltrated all over around this region a little bit. We got a little bit of everything. We got GLC with the exception of GCC, but we got GLC, we got Suburban League, we got Southwestern Conference. It's all intermingled here. So this is going to be a division that's going to get a lot of attention on the show going forward.
Yeah, and I was looking at Wadsworth and their schedule, and a lot of the games. I mean, even Nordonia, they lost by 14 points. by 20 to Hudson, but a lot of these games, Barberton they lost by 7 and they lose by 10 to Brecksville Broadview Heights. So a lot of these games,
Yeah.
are high scoring games. So
Right.
they can put up some points and they're close games. But like you said, as a 1-4 team, they're going to be a little bit dangerous as they go into the playoffs here.
Certainly. And I think you mentioned earlier, Rob, a Valley Forge Broadview Heights game at Brecksville Broadview Heights. You're gonna put the arm of Joe Labus against the wing T offense led by Kentrell Marks and Eddie Starks in that vaunted wing T offense. I know Coach DeAngelis will be doing everything he can to make sure Labus does not get off the sidelines and onto the field as best as they possibly can. So, Division II, Region 6 is going to be tremendous competition. Let's shift over quickly to Division III, Region 9. Sean, you do have a representative, and that two of them. Sorry, so you have two of them. Yeah, my mistake. So. Quickly, Division III, Region 9. What do you think?
Talmadge is there. I don't think they have the firepower to beat Dover. I hope they prove me wrong, but I think Dover is going to win that matchup. I'm interested to follow Aurora because I think Aurora is a very complete team. Every year we say that they're a complete team, and they end up. It's kind of hit or miss with them, but last couple of years they've kind of made their bones in this division. Now, Chardon's at the top of this region pretty much, and in this bracket specifically. But Aurora sitting there at number 5 seed. I'm interested to see how that plays out. I think they have the firepower to at least get to the quarterfinals. I don't know if they can get to the semi or the regional finals, but we'll talk. I think Aurora's got a good shot at making some noise in this division. And I think, obviously, in this case, all roads go through Chardon as they usually do in this division, or whenever they're in a playoff, because that's a football powerhouse. But my dark horse in that division is Aurora.
Understood, and I think you're right there. And there's more to. I think there's definitely more to talk about with this region. But knowing that we have a guaranteed game in this region next week, so we can discuss more about that.
Mm-hmm.
The Division III, Region 10, Sean, you and I both have some teams peppered here. The first matchup that I see on my screen right now, a very, very good matchup between Medina Buckeye. Sorry, my mistake. Revere is hosting that matchup against Buckeye. I think I had that reversed. So Buckeye will travel from York Township down to Richfield to take on Ben Chrisman and the Revere Minutemen. I want to see if Buckeye can capitalize on their playoff success last year against a very, very good Revere team who I think we can all agree that this is going to be the year for Revere with Ben Chrisman leading the offense and defensive lines and some good athletes there.
Yeah, this is what's odd is that we're seeing this in week 7, right? We're seeing this matchup in week 7, but this is almost annually a week 1 matchup. Buckeye and Revere get together, and it usually sets the tone for both of those seasons. It's interesting now that they're meeting in the playoffs, and I think that's something that both squads can kind of feed off of a little bit. Look for Revere to run the ball. Look for Revere to kind of play a little bit of the same game as Buckeye does. Control the clock, control the pace of the game, but they have the ability with explosive plays. So I'm interested to see that matchup. Obviously, we have a week to wait for that matchup. The only other matchup I see here in this one is another one we have to wait for, and that's Copley at Norwalk. Copley's an interesting team. They got a pretty good, they got really good running back, senior quarterback that's been through the ringer here, and they have to go to Norwalk, which isn't exactly a fun drive or a bit of a jaunt for them. But Copley's an interesting story, and if they can execute the way they've been executing these past 4 games, they may be able to carry their undefeated season a little farther. And I don't know how far, because I literally do like whoever comes out of this particular matchup, the Revere and Buckeye matchup, may well be positioned to kind of go deep into this playoff and make a little bit of noise. I'm not saying they can make it to state, but that's a pretty good test to overcome in the second round, and then you can that can galvanize the winner to kind of move on and grab that momentum. But that's going to be a fun game to watch.
I agree. I agree. I can't wait for that. I can't wait for that matchup next week either. I do like Rocky River and Lexington. Lexington's going to have to. That's not going to be a close drive for them. The winner of that game is going to get Padua. I think Rocky River can give Padua a run for their money if that game, if that were to be the game. Then Bay's going to host Defiance. Bay had a rough go of this. They were the unfortunate recipient of having to play who I would say are the toughest teams in the GLC. They had to play EC, Valley Forge, and Holy Name in 3 of their first 4 games, and without having a whole lot of time to prepare for them and get those games, they just happened to run into some buzzsaws there. So I think they're ranked appropriately in this division or in this region based on who they played and what their potential is. So I will say this: the winner of that game against Bowling Green is traditionally a very good team in the playoffs, and especially if you have to travel up to Bowling Green, that's going to be a tough one for both of those teams. Holy Name is the 6th seed in this region. They are very, very good. They're very explosive. They did not lose in the Great Lakes Conference, and they have a very, very good quarterback in sophomore Javon Williams, a tough running back in Christian Sanchez, and a very, very opportunistic defense. I can see them potentially making a run at this as well. I can see them going to Bowling Green and maybe and putting a statement there. And I'm going to say this isn't related to any of our conferences, but congratulations to Lodi Cloverleaf. They are in Medina County along with Brunswick and Buckeye. They are hosting a playoff game, I believe, for the first time in school history. And while they didn't qualify in the points realm, they played well enough for the coaches to seed them number 5 in this region. Their only losses to a very, very good Streetsboro team. So congratulations to Cloverleaf, the Colts out there. I'm very happy for that school being in Medina County. Last and certainly not least, we'll just very, very briefly Division 5, Region 18. These are a lot of teams that are a little bit out of the area. So Elyria Catholic is the 4 seed. They have a bye week. They will host the winner of Oak Harbor and Chippewa. Chippewa isn't too far from us down in Wayne County. So I honestly don't really know who's going to win that game. I think that's a toss-up there. And then Fairview is taking on Orville, the defending, 2 years ago they won the state championship. Fairview, their only win, I believe, is against Parma. And Orville certainly isn't what they were. I think they're a little disappointed this year with where they are at. But that's a very, very tough environment to go play in. So, good luck to the Warriors as they travel down to Orville. And we can get more into those other matchups next week. All right. Thanks for staying a little bit longer with us this week, everybody. Next week's going to be a little odd because some of us are going to have more games to cover than others. Josh will have a full complement of games. A couple of us will not. So we'll continue breaking down brackets as the season goes on, as the postseason goes on, because a lot of our teams aren't playing this week. They're waiting for winners, and then and then some of the fun really starts. So hang tight with us as we continue through.
Yeah, great job, guys. That's a lot to break down in one night, just going through all the playoffs. But we were able to show the brackets on the screen when we were talking about them so people could see the actual brackets of what we were talking about. And, the brackets are a little bit different. Give credit to everybody involved for getting these all figured out. And, just a great job overall. We're excited for the playoffs to happen here. And, again, come with us next Monday night at 8 p.m. and we'll give you again the winners and go over some of our recaps. But break down the playoffs as well. And you could go to our Facebook page to watch live on there, or sportsontappodcast.com, where these will be archived, where you can go back and watch them. You also can check out photos, some stories, and some video on there. There's some great stuff really on our website. So visit our website. And if you have stats or stories you want us to know about, or you have information you want us to put on our website, you can reach out to us at sportsontappodcast@gmail.com. For all of our coverage at SOT Podcast on Twitter. We're on Instagram, YouTube, and pretty much everywhere. So look for us on social media as well. Guys, any last thoughts before we close down the show here?
If you thought it was wild when we were all over the place for the first 6 weeks, wait till next week when we're having to recap games that we're trying to get information on, because I don't think half of these teams have ever been in the playoff or even played some of these teams. So it's going to be – that's one thing I want to – like some of these teams, Talmadge, they're playing teams that they've only heard of now. So how do you prepare for a team like that? But good luck to everyone. Hope everyone has a good time. Fan bases enjoy this. It's always fun when you have a bracket system in place, and that's why they play the games. It's October Madness in high school football right now.
That's right, man. Get ready.
Certainly.
It's about to get crazy in week 7.
Is.
First round of the playoffs. All right, guys. Great job as always, and we'll close down the show.
Thanks,
everybody.
All right, we're Sports on Tap. Thanks for listening. We'll see you on Monday night. Check out our Facebook page, our social media, and our website, sportsontappodcast.com, to see where we'll be on Friday night. Have a good one, everybody. We'll see you next Monday night at 8 p.m. Take care.